I never kissed a mouth that tastes like yours. Strawberries and a song.
Good morning, everybody. I think it's so super lekker to have everybody back in a face-to-face networking event again. Very good to see everyone, and hopefully it's going to be some great networking opportunities. Really what I want to talk about is maybe a bit different to the previous points that have been raised, but I think more focused on technology. And there's a lot of hype around buzzwords and capabilities that technology brings to multiple different industries and sectors. Insurance obviously being one of them. And I think one of the things that we really believe is not to just use tech for the sake of using tech, but it should be really driven based on a business objective or opportunity that you're trying to solve and use tech for the right reasons. So I want to unpack that a bit, and then hopefully I'm going to give some insight into maybe a different mindset of organizations and how to be more agile and really look at more of a kind of composable business solution. So don't believe the hype, I think is the first point. It is a case that we want to use technology to solve the right problems. And there is a lot of hype. I think there's so much great technology out there. And it's really about understanding how we best use that in the business. So what is hype? Look, the definition of hype is it's something that is pushed massively. It gains massive traction, drives a lot of investment, and from there, the challenge is often that you get a very much of a kind of a hype trigger, and then from there on, it kind of plateaus down depending on adoption. So one of the key things that actually came out of an article from Wired in the UK is hype is a great catalyst for genuine innovation that creates massive amounts of funding. We see it in all the insurtech spaces where private equity firms and venture capitalist firms are pushing heaps of money into these new technologies. But often it's difficult to integrate that back into the ecosystems that we need to provide insurance with. But I think the biggest challenge is often these hype cycles and technology that we use end up actually turning out to be useless at the end of the day with a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted money. So really, I think what I want to try and cover today is what those hype cycles look like and how to make the right decisions within your business. So I think some hype examples, and there's lots of them, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that a lot of the new technology is bad in any way. I'm saying that it's very much about selecting the right technology for the right business problem. So we've got drones, and funny enough, maybe a bit more of a personal story. I was down in Neisner about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and had the opportunity of going out on a cat through the heads. And I've been flying drones for some time, and I said to the skipper, does he mind if I fly my drone and take some footage? And he said to me, listen, I wouldn't recommend it. Lots of people have lost their drones. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? I'm sure I know what I'm doing flying my drone. So as we got out, he said, okay, cool, you can launch it. And I did, and my plan was launch it 10 meters, kind of turn it around, get stable, and then start taking video. And they all said to me, your drone's gone. And it pretty much went up to 10 meters and flew and crashed straight into the water, obviously not managed to get it back. So at that point, I was like, well, do I not actually know how to fly a drone? But luckily, DJI, with flight records under a warranty claim, replaced the drone. So at least that gave me a bit more comfort that I know what I'm doing. But if you think about it, DJI, one of the biggest drone manufacturing companies, was founded in 2006. So 16 years, and you still have these challenges of actually adopting the hype correctly. We've seen a lot of traction with wearables. We've seen a lot of traction in AI and machine learning, and we're utilizing that quite a bit. But blockchains may be a bit more of a question mark. It's great for crypto. It's got great use cases. What use cases are really good in insurance? And they are, but again, I think it's about using the right tech for the right reasons. So moving on to the hype cycle itself, and Gartner has kind of driven this across multiple different industries. But essentially, you've got the axis of visibility and time. and something is triggered firstly. There's a great new innovation or technology that comes out. Every industry looks at it and goes, right, how do we use this? How do we better implement it? That kind of peaks to inflated expectations, which then at that point drives a lot of investment. But then I think maybe sometimes it's too good to be true, and then it kind of drops down into the trough of disillusionment, but then quite quickly kind of refocuses back on the slope of entitlement and then plateaus into widespread adoption. And we've seen that. If you look at telematics, it's a great example. It started off, now it's OEM'd in every car, and I think it's got great use cases within the insurance space. But I think if we bring this all back to insurance, and this is a stat from AIB in the UK, is that a quarter of our end customers don't trust their insurance providers. They don't feel that they have their back when it comes to the shove. So, I think at the end of the day, it's about how do we innovate product? How do we actually make a change to the end customer? And I've always had this view of, wanting to change the world, but change the world for the end consumer. And use tech and use, innovative product to do that. And I think the insurance industry is so ripe for innovation at the moment. So in our industry, I believe there's 5 main areas, which is not a tech issue, but tech supports that. So it's about making it much more simpler and easier to sell insurance, so that path to purchase, data enrichment, ask a couple of questions, be able to give a price, personalize it, be able to sell insurance at the right time. If there's a certain triggered event for a customer, they've purchased a car, we'll offer them insurance. And I think we're doing a lot of that with being able to integrate businesses together. Pay claims quicker, automatically, create transparency around communication. And I think, Andrew mentioned a little bit about it around mitigating risk, and I really believe that that's the ideal. If we can remove the potential of a claim by IoT devices and managing risk and changing behavior, that's the ideal for the insurer, for the intermediary, for the customer. So focusing on all of that, buying the wrong tech, I think really does hurt. And I published a blog post, I think it was a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, but it actually hurts the end customer, not once, but twice. So there's cost involved and there's impact on the customer themselves. So I think saying all of that, there's a lot of really good hype out there. I think we just need to focus from a business perspective to pick the right hype tech for the right reasons and ensure that we are agile in how we go about implementing that. So kind of bringing that back to how do we do this within a business? I think the future is super unpredictable, and we know that. COVID's taught us that. Cost of living crisis in the UK, global recession, things change, and they change on a very quick kind of turnaround, and we need to be able to be agile within our businesses and create resilience. So the key for me is thinking about how we do business differently, how we select technology, and I'll touch a bit on kind of what I'm terming, and I think Gartner pushes, funny enough, hypes it as well, is a composable business model. And how this is driven is based on 4 core principles, which I'll talk about. But at the end of the day, it's about creating a culture within the business, firstly, where you are basically looking to ensure you're agile at all times in your business process, in your business architecture and thinking, and that obviously flows back to the technology of ensuring that technology is modular and can plug in and out. So first principle is greater agility through modularity. And again, I'm not talking just about the tech, but about the business functions. So what different functions do you have in your business, and how agile are you to change that? The second principle is resilience through autonomy. Those different areas of the business, together with the support of technology, should be able to move on and change without impacting your whole business. So it's quite a different mindset. The third principle is speed through discovery, so continuing to evaluate what you're doing. Is it right? What does the future look like? Are you on the right path? And that obviously then flows back into the technology piece. And then the final principle is through leadership. So this talks to the culture that you create in the business, how you challenge your teams and your business functions, and end up making sure that through orchestration and leadership, you drive this composable business mindset or culture within the business. So it's quite a different way of thinking about things, but this culture then drives the ability for businesses to be super resilient in the future and be able to adopt change, which then flows obviously back into, if we go into composability in practice, I come from a technology background. So going back to composability from a tech perspective, we all know and hear about APIs all the time and how systems need to be able to integrate. And that's really important. Open architecture around your core platforms drive that composable business agility to be able to bring in and out these different capabilities. And if you look at the insurance value chain, there's various different areas throughout that value chain that you want to bring in hyped and innovative tech to streamline the entire process. Bring in fraud detection capability, data enrichment capability, IoT pieces, and there's a whole lot of these. But in each of those technologies, in isolation, doesn't add value. By bringing it into the end-to-end insurance value chain, that's where you get the benefit. So APIs support that from a technology perspective. That drives, for me, ecosystem benefit. So, if you're dealing with one piece of small capability, does it actually give you benefit? You need to bring these ecosystems of beneficial capabilities throughout the insurance value chain into one area. Obviously, have the right technology to support that. And super importantly, back to composability within your business, the modularity of technology. So if something's not working, or that area within the business is changing, or there's new technology, be able to pull that out and plug it in with something else. So I want to then move to, so I guess I've explained the hype cycles and how all of that works. I guess a different mindset around being more agile from being a composability business. And then I want to just talk about two use cases where we've used this to kind of implement that capability. So Simply Health is one of our customers in the UK. They're one of the largest mutuals that sell medical and dental insurance into big group schemes as well as individual life or individual consumers. And look, they went on a whole digital journey to move from legacy to new capabilities. But one of their biggest drivers was, prior to, I guess, this digital transformation they were looking at, they had to have an individual person actually look at every single claim, validate it, and pay it. And their aim is to get to a point where 90% of claims are paid, not seen by a human. And we've done quite a bit of work together with them about using great technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, OCR recognition, image recognition, to be able to consume automated digital claims or electronic FNL and pay those claims automatically. So that the intent is to get to a point where 90% of the claims are paid automatically. And I think we're sitting at about 65% at the moment, fine-tuning that process. And that goes back to the transparency I spoke about earlier, being able to pay claims automatically. I think Lemonade, that was one of their biggest things, is a claim is paid in X amount of seconds. And that's what the customer wants. Back to, I think Andrew also mentioned a grudge purchase. Insurance is. So the more you can give back to the customer and create that trust, that's where the benefit comes from. I think another great use case is another business in the UK called Armor. Bunch of great young guys, and essentially what they did is they looked at what insurance is available out there, and they said, well, what they're targeting is kind of college and university students that are out of the house. They don't have traditional household contents insurance. So how do they insure their phone and their laptop and their portable devices? So their push has been around creating a super streamlined path to purchase. Capture a couple of bits of information, enrich that as much as possible, full straight-through process to buy, But one of the other key bits around the Armour Karma proposition is targeting kind of social influences and also the ability to be able to give back to charities of your choice. So it's a typical MGA or UMA model where the commission piece, they allow you to pick charities of your choice and give back. So again, utilizing a lot of good hype tech and then pushing that back into the benefit of the customer. And they've got some great traction. So again, I think it's around innovating product and then at the same time using good modularized composable tech to support that. So I think then kind of finalizing maybe just a bit about Genesis is, I think we firstly turned 25 this week, so we're quite excited about that. And one of the things that Genesis has really done is looked at being super agile, and at the same time also made sure that we revise the tech and make sure that we can provide this agility, modularized capability back to our customers, and that drives the partnership. So I'm going to end off with a quick, maybe a bit more fun video, and let's let that play. So I think maybe just to conclude then, hopefully I have inspired some thinking around, not adopting technology because it's hyped and people are talking about it, but actually challenge the business requirements and, use the right tech for the sake of it. And I think also think about how you go about adopting different change in your business using a composable business architecture. So hopefully it gives some thought or food for thought. It'll be great to meet you at our stand later if you want to chat about anything further. Thank you very much for your time.
I never kissed a mouth that tastes like yours. Strawberries and